Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the NECA Alien 3 Weyland Yutani Commando. This figure is kind of weird, because I feel like it was one of the first figures in this line NECA ever promised. I might be misremembering that, but I do remember hearing very early on in the Alien line, yeah, we're doing the Weyland Yutani Commando. And me thinking, I don't give a crap. I want Marines and Ripley and cool characters, mostly aliens characters. But now that the line's gone on a little bit, now that we've gotten a good share of Marines and we got some more to come, we've gotten our Ripleys, the time feels right to be getting this Weyland Yutani Commando. A very minor character, a crew of them just show up at the very end of Alien 3. I don't know if any of them ever say a word, but they definitely have a very cool look to them. And I found myself very excited to have them in figure form. For accessories, the Weyland Yutani Commando comes with a few things. We first get its pulse rifle, and this is really just a black repaint of the one we get with all the Marines, except it doesn't have the strap underneath it where you can sling it over their shoulder, but appears to be the exact same sculpt. I think it's nice it's just plain black. It makes it look a little more new, a little more non-military than the ones you actually see with the Marines, but same great detail we've come to expect. We also get a very tiny little knife, a serrated edge, kind of a hunting knife. Nice grip on there. You have the two little trident pieces to the side. It's like a sai knife, I guess. And we have a little loop back here, which looks like it could have a string, but it doesn't. Nice silver paint on it with the black handle. And we actually have wonderfully subtle weapon storage. Here on the boot, there's a little gap in there, and you can slide the knife into his boot for storage. It does tend to bow a little bit outwards at the handle, and then the little side pieces kind of come over the edge and warp as well. So it's not a perfect fit, but it's fairly nice storage, and once again, like I said, very subtle on the figure. However, if you want to actually put it in his hand, that's a different story, because it's a very, very loose grip. It's meant to hold the gun, and he just really won't grasp the knife in any real convincing way. And I guess it's time to reveal, I actually bought two of these to slightly army build. I might get one more. I don't really think I'm going to super army build these guys. I think there were only like 5 in the movie anyway. But I want to bring the second one in to illustrate some of the differences you can achieve with this figure. As you can see, the one on the left has the visor down, the one on the right has its visor open. Now the visor is just a pegged in piece. We could take it, this one here is real easy to unpeg. We get 2 different visors actually. They're actually separate pieces, but you can see underneath there's kind of a dark rim around the eyes. And then these goggles have little tabs up at the top that simply peg into the slots above the eyes to give it that flipped up visor look. Watching the movie, that's the only version I noticed. I didn't go back frame by frame and really investigate, but it looked like almost all of the Commandos had their visors open. But having the visor down looks pretty damn cool. So I definitely will keep at least one of these with the visor down. The down visor, instead of having the little pegs on top, has pegs on the inside that peg into the round eye holes on there.
I'm the eye hole man.
But then you pop them right in. So we have the same head and 2 different visor looks. You don't have to worry about a very fragile mechanism in there to allow it to actually flip up and down. So I think I actually do prefer this method rather than having an actual moving part. Now you may have noticed the one on the left was wobbling around a little bit when I was trying to adjust the helmet. And that's because I semi-intentionally ripped the helmet off this one to get a look at what's underneath. Taking a look at the other Commando here for a second, you can see there's a lot of detail there behind the mask. You can make out the eyes, the wrinkles around them, the eyebrows, before you get just covered in machination and everything. And even if you turn it around a little bit, you can kind of see the flesh tone peeking out underneath the seams of the helmet. So if you apply way too much pressure and rip this thing off, you'll find most of a face. And we don't have hair on this guy, and we don't actually have a forehead either, but we do get a fair amount of sculpted detail. And really, this is what you're seeing from behind the goggles, maybe just a little bit more painted here. I really appreciate how they detailed this out. And then all around the sides of the head, we do have the ears and the hair, and it just ends in that really abrupt peg here at the top. Now, I'm probably going to either glue the top of the helmet back on if I just have 2 of these figures. But if I get a third, I may keep this one as is and actually sculpt in hair and stuff on it. Not from the movie to have one without its mask on, but it would be kind of a cool little variant to have, I think. The lower portion of the head is kind of wrapped in these white bandages almost. So that covers up the whole lower face, but you can still see the outline of a human face. The helmet itself is a very nice silver with all kinds of little rivets and pieces on it. There's a little bit of a dark wash to bring out the detail there as well. I do love the kind of riveted and welded seams on here. It looks great. And then the mouth here has one side that's fully enclosed with this metal plate and this kind of hockey mask grill here on the other side. I'm not really sure how how practical that is for combat, but it looks cool. The rest of the Commando's outfit is a very heavy jacket. It looks like it takes cues from the Nostromo spacesuits. Very thick midsection here. You can see the buttons, there's some pockets and stitching sculpted in there. He has some grenades here on his chest, or I think they're grenades. These, I think in the movie were actually painted, or if it wasn't, it was the shadow and light that made it look that way. But they're a nice silver here, which isn't too bad. We have the big heavy collar coming around the back, which is folded up across the backpack. You can see zipper there in the back. There's kind of a fur lining in there. They put some brown dry brushing in to bring out the detail around the neck. This is a soft rubber piece. We also get this kind of big shoulder pauldron, another semi-soft rubber, but it is fairly rigid, I think just because of how thick it is. But it brings in this quilted pattern. It's very similar to the Nostromo suit. These little details here around the wrist, big and bulky, and then we have these very simple looking gloves, but they have a nice pattern to them and some nice brown paint on there. This hand is made to hold the gun. The other hand is Ash's extra hand from Army of Darkness. He only had the right hand in that movie, so we get the silver one here for the Weyland Yutani Commandos, and it's a nice gripping hand to hold the other side of the gun, I guess. And we get some more little details here strapped around his bicep on this side, a smaller shoulder pauldron on this side as well, which is also a little bit rubberized, but still pretty rigid. Coming down to the belt, we have what looks almost like a weightlifting belt. It's a very weird kind of tan color, has the double prong belt in there. Looks really nice though. And then we have this strange detail around his waist. It's kind of mechanical piece, the silver ends on it, arms that come around to the back to his backpack, which is a nice dirty white. A lot of good detail in there. But these arms are on swivels, and I don't really know why. They don't move up really much because of the way the body's sculpted, but you can kind of pop him around his hip and rotate him around behind the figure. Now, I noticed that in the movie, all of them seem to have them around their waist, but once again, I'm kind of thinking about making that boss or whatever kind of commando leader with the unmasked look. I think I might put these up on that version. I actually have them up on that figure right now. The very strange cod piece, like an armored cod piece on here. More zippers coming down the legs. Stripes going down the side as well. The pants are also very dirty to match the rest of the uniform. We got a strap there going up his butt crack. I like that the pads back here on his lower legs aren't connected. They're strapped on. There we have the belts with the silver buckles on them. But you can see they're kind of bulging around the leg, which is a cool look. Those also come up high as a knee pad. Another semi-soft rubber piece, but not super flexible. But it's not like you're going to be bending it up. It's only going to bend down. And you see those belts coming around the front, some white padding in there as well. And the shoe is almost completely covered. We do have a strap going underneath the shoe, which is a nice touch. No real detail at the bottom of the feet, but we do get peg holes. But overall, very nicely detailed figure. To add to the customization ability, both figures come with a decal sheet to apply to the characters. I don't remember seeing any of these in the film. Granted, you don't get a really good look at them anyway, but this could really help you kind of make the different characters look unique. Now, unfortunately, the way they attach these to the figure, they're actually stuck on the bottom of the plastic tray insert for the figure. So both of them, even though I was very careful trying to remove them, caught a little bit. And you could see some of the stickers or decals, or whatever you want to call them, kind of got peeled up a little bit. So that kind of stinks. I think I kind of ruined these two on this one, which I wouldn't use the same ones on both characters, I don't think. You know, I'd pick and choose what I was going to use, but some of the places like the Hunter and this 10 down here might actually work because they look a little weathered and beat up, which would fit the characters, but kind of sucky that they attached them the way they did. The articulation on this figure is almost exactly what I expected it to be. It's very, very similar to the Nostromo spacesuit we got previously. But it does have a big flaw that really annoys me with this character, and that's the head joint. We can move the head a little bit up and down, very limited by that collar, but then because of the mask and the collar, side to side is virtually impossible without really compressing this plastic, and I'm afraid it's going to break something. And that's a bummer because you can't have him holding the gun with both hands aiming at something. He only can have the gun in both hands if he's looking ahead while the gun's pointing off to the side. So that is a bummer to me. And you can turn the head, it's just I'm really afraid it's going to break if you try to do it too much. The arms are also limited because of these heavy shoulder pieces. The right arm can only go up, not much at all, honestly. You can go back quite a bit more because it's not as connected there in the back. You can also go out to the side, very stiff joint on this figure, but about 45 degrees to the body. The left arm for the character will move quite a bit more forward forward, also quite a bit back. And we'll go out to the side a little bit more than the other arm. You can kind of see the difference there. We have a hinge there at the elbow, which bends a full 90 degrees, which isn't too shabby. Actually, maybe a little more. Then we also get a rotation there, which is nice. Get a ball joint here at the wrist. You can also swivel there. It looks like there's two joints here at the waist, but I can only really get a swivel out of the lower section there. You can't really move them forward and back just because of how big and bulky this character is. So it's not bad considering. The legs, he does have the diaper here, so you can go forward, back, out to the side, as well as swivel. Good range of motion up there on the hips. You can bend at the knee, probably less than 45 degrees. But then we have the most annoying joint. Instead of having the swivel up here, we can just swivel side to side at the bottom, so it really defeats the purpose of a swivel there at the lower leg. But we do get a great ball joint there at the foot. And here we have the Weyland Yutani Commando next to Bishop. Not the Bishop from Alien 3. Well, actually, it is the Bishop from Alien 3, but not the Bishop from the end of Alien 3. I think the height difference is pretty good. The Commando does stand a little bit taller than Bishop, but he also has armor on top of his head, which is also kind of adding to that height. But I think they look good together. I would love if they made an Alien 3 Bishop with the screwed up head, with big bloody weird ear wound, and a couple of those crazy scientist guys in the condom suits, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And you can kind of see here what I mean about how annoying it is that they can't really move their heads. The one in the back kind of looks like he's looking where his weapon's aimed, and the one in the front looks like he's not paying attention at all. But I do really like these figures. I think they're really well sculpted, really well painted. Just overall, very cool to look at. A nice little mini army builder. You don't have to build up a whole hive of these guys like you do some of the xenomorphs. Like I said, I believe I saw 5 getting off the dropship in the movie. I didn't count after that to see if more showed up when they were in the complex, but you really could very easily have a very full-looking representation of these mercs. I think giving us the ability to customize these figures a little bit is really cool, and just in general, they get a solid recommend from me. Now, I would be surprised if this isn't the end of the Alien 3 figures from NECA that aren't xenomorphs. I mentioned some other ones I wanted, both versions of Bishop from the movie, the scientists, the different version of Ripley. I don't think those are likely, I really don't. I would like to see a lead variant of the xenomorph, even if it's something as simple as painting him kind of grayish chrome and painting some cracks on him or something. And I'd like to see the Bambi Burster in figure form. And those are really the only two I think are even likely to happen in this line. But also, I'm recording this like a week before San Diego Comic-Con, so who knows? I could be proven wrong very quickly here. Speaking of which, I'm not really sure offhand what's coming in the future of this line past the next wave. Newt is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, which sucks, though Randy keeps claiming he's going to find another way to get her out to us who aren't going to Comic-Con. Really need that figure. Anybody feeling particularly generous? I mean, I'll pay for the figure, but anybody going to Comic-Con that wants to pick one up for me, send me a message, preferably on Facebook, because that's where I usually see them. I am horrible about getting YouTube messages. And then we're getting another alien wave. We're getting another concept alien, this time from Aliens. Then we're getting Vasquez and Frost. 2 more Marines to add to our collection, ones I'm very excited to get my hands on. Well, I don't really care so much about Frost, but Vasquez is like the figure I've wanted in this line for quite a while now. After getting the big heavy hitters, she's like top of the second tier for me. So very excited about that. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, it's been our Outside the Box Reviews. And remember, in space, no one can hear you review action figures.